Hi friends, it's me, Miss DeChalais. I hope you had a wonderful April break. We are back at it and we are going to continue to learn about pollination. We are going to use the text, What is Pollination today? And we are going to get started. So let me make this screen smaller. Let me pull up our PowerPoint. And here we go. Oh, you know what I didn't do, friends? I did not share my screen. So give me 1 second. Let me go to share screen. It looks like we have a learner here with us today. Are you our learner? Okay. And here we go. Today is Monday, April 13th, 2020. We are in Module 3, Unit 2, Lesson 3A. Today's learning target is I can listen to a read aloud in the book, What is Pollination, and learn 5 new facts from this book. So friends, I'm going to do the read aloud for What is Pollination, and you're gonna listen just like you did in the past, and you are going to then go into the Google Classroom and type in 5 facts for me, okay? And that will be your assignment after today's reading. Let's first, real quick though, just review what our guiding question is. Remember, friends, our guiding question is, how do pollinators help plants grow and survive? So today, friends, you're going to learn some more information to help you answer that guiding question of how do pollinators help plants grow and survive. So, oh my goodness, my face keeps getting right on where we are going. So today, friends, our agenda is going to be, I will read you pages 4 through 23 in our text, What is Pollination? And then you will log into Google Classroom and type in 5 new facts that you learned that will help you answer our guided question, how do pollinators help plants grow and survive? So let me pull up our camera and we will begin. All right, let me make this nice and big. And here we go. What is Pollination by Bobby Kalman? What is pollination? Do you know what pollination is?
Yeah.
Are you excited to learn what it is? Okay, can you sit right here for me? Thanks, friend. All right, remember, friends, this is our table of contents. It tells us what page we will find certain information on. So if we want to know what we will learn on page 8, we can find the number 8 and then go across, and this is the title of this area is Types of Pollination. So the table of contents is a great way to get information quick. Here we go. What is pollination? Move this so you can see a little bit better. Pollen is the yellow, white, or brown powder at the center of most flowers. Pollen is an important food for bees and some other animals. The bee on the left is covered in pollen. Bees collect pollen in pollen sacs. So they have a little sac on the side of them, and that's where they keep all of their pollen.
That means they're honey.
Mm-hmm. An important part of flowers. Pollen is a very important part of many flowers. It is the part of the flower that plants need to make fruit, seeds, and new plants. To make new plants, pollen has to move from one flower part to another of the same kind of flower. Most flowers need pollinators to move their pollen. Pollinators are animals such as bees, wasps, butterflies, and other small animals that visit flowers. So this right here, it says, this beetle has pollen all over its body. When it goes to another flower of the same kind, it will leave pollen on that flower. The flower will then be able to make seeds. So that beetle is the pollinator. This bee is the pollinator. What is pollination? I'm going to make this a little bit bigger so that you can see the image that helps support the text. This is the heading. The heading is, what is pollination? Some flowers have male and female parts. The stamen is the male part of the plant that makes pollen. Some flowers have one stamen and others have many. The pistil is the female part of the flower. It is made up of a style, stigma, and ovary. The stigma is the top part. It receives the pollen. The style is the pollen tube. The pollen travels down through the style to the ovary. The ovary contains ovules. So here's a picture. Here's the stigma. Here's the petal of the flower, the stamen, the style is this tube right here, the ovule, and ovary. It's all inside a flower. How a plant grows. When pollen moves from a stamen to a stigma, pollination has taken place. After a flower is pollinated, its petals fall off. The ovaries of the flower become fruit, and the ovules become seeds. The fruit of a plant can be a vegetable or nut, as well as a fruit. The fruit of the bean plant below are the bean pods. The seeds are the beans inside the pods. So here we see bees are pollinating the flower of a bean plant. After pollination, the ovaries of the flowers become bean pods. Here's the bean pods. The beans inside are the seeds that can make new bean plants. So the bees are very important in this process. Types of pollination. Flowers cannot make seeds unless they are pollinated. There are three main types of pollination: cross-pollination, self-pollination, and wind pollination. In cross-pollination, flowers need pollen from other flowers of the same species or type to land on their pistils. Animals such as insects and birds carry pollen from flower to flower. So this is a picture and it says this bee is cross-pollinating. It is carrying pollen from one flower to another of the same kind. Self-pollination. During self-pollination, pollen moves from the stamen to the pistil of the same flower. Flowers that self-pollinate have male and female parts that are close together, so the pollen can move easily from the stamen to the pistil. Sunflowers can self-pollinate or be cross-pollinated. So here's a sunflower, and the sunflower can do both. It can either be self-pollinated or it can be cross-pollinated. Wind pollination. I'm going to make a prediction that wind pollination needs the wind. Some flowers are pollinated by the wind. Wind sweeps pollen off these flowers and carries it to other flowers. Wind-pollinated flowers have millions of tiny pollen grains. These flowers seldom have nectar. Ragwood flowers are wind-pollinated. Many people are very allergic to ragweed pollen. Miss Deacon is very allergic to ragweed pollen. Fun fact. Shapes and colors. Ooh, let's just take a second to look at this picture. I see something beautiful right here, and it's on top of a flower. Shapes and colors. Most animals pollinate when they look for nectar. Nectar is a liquid found in many flowers. The bright colors and sweet smell of a flower tells pollinators that the flower contains nectar or pollen for them to eat. Flowers that are pollinated at night have a very strong scent to make it easy for pollinators to find them. So here's a lunar moth, and it is a beautiful nighttime pollinator. So pollination doesn't only happen during the day, it also happens at night. Ooh, look at the beautiful color of this orchid. They have special markings that guide insects to their nectar. That's really cool. Oh, wow. Look at this beautiful butterfly. It's pollinating the orchid. Oh, wow. The jack in the pulpit plant does not smell sweet. In fact, it smells like dead meat. Disgusting. This plant attracts flies. Oh, cool. So the fly goes to this one because it smells yucky. Flies like yucky stuff. Hummingbirds have long beaks and very long tongues. They are able to feed at flowers that are too deep or thin for other pollinators to reach. Their long beak and their tongue goes into the flower to help it. Wow. Do we need pollinators? Did you know that more than 1/3 of food you eat depends on pollinators? Pollinators make plants healthier so they can make a lot of food. There are thousands of kinds of pollinators. Most vegetables, fruits, and nuts come from plants that are pollinated by insects, birds, bats, and other small animals. We get cherries, we get apples and pears. Emmy sees celery. What's that, Emmy? A pepper. And pineapple and grapes. Oh my goodness. All these foods.
Blueberry.
Yeah.
Chocolate.
The foods shown on this page and many more came from plants that were pollinated by insects and other animals. So I see fruits, I see chocolate, I see nuts, and I also see so many yummy vegetables.
And I see cauliflower.
That's cauliflower. Yum, yum. Insect pollinators. There are thousands of kinds of insects that pollinate plants. They belong to 5 main groups: bees, wasps, butterflies and moths, flies, and beetles. Those are the 5 main groups of insect pollinators. Without these insects, we would not have many of the food we eat. So here's a bee. Here's a wasp. Here's a moth. Here's a butterfly, a beetle, and a fly.
But why is it colored like a bee?
I know, isn't that cool? We're gonna find out real soon. Bees are best. There are thousands of kinds of bees, but the honeybee is the most important pollinator. Honeybees are social insects. Social insects live together in groups called colonies. Each bee colony lives in a hive, which is its home.
That's a ladybug.
That's a bee. Bees collect nectar and pollen from flowers. They pollinate many kinds of fruit trees as well as vegetable plants. They also make honey, which people eat. Bumblebees. The bumblebee is another kind of bee pollinator. There are 250 species of bumblebees. Bumblebees have big, furry bodies. Like honeybees, these bees live in colonies of 150 to 200 bees. Bumblebees make their nests underground. The tongue of some bumblebees are short and others are long. The long-tongued bees are important pollinators of many plants such as beans, tomatoes, and clovers. Really cool. Never knew there were so many kinds. Butterflies and moths. Butterflies and moths have long proboscises, or mouth parts, which can reach the nectar and pollen inside flowers. Butterflies like bright pink, blue, and purple flowers. Some moths are good pollinators of flowers that bloom at night. They look for pale flowers with strong scents. The hummingbird moth can pollinate flowers that are too thin and deep for other pollinators. Its long proboscis can reach the pollen deep inside them. This butterfly has landed on a pink flower. It is using its long proboscis to sip its nectar. The legs are covered in pollen. Ooh, this is cool. If I zoom in, you can see its proboscis. It's right there. There. Right. Wasps and flies. That's another kind. Wasps are mainly carnivores. Carnivores eat other animals. Wasps hunt small insects. Many insects live on plants. Wasps visit flowers to look for smaller insects that they can find there. They also drink flower nectar to give them the energy to hunt insects. While they hunt insects, wasps pollinate plants by carrying pollen on their bodies from flower to flower. Wasps also help nature by eating many insects and damaging plants. Wow. Pretending to sting. Emmy, this is the fly that you thought was a bee, right here. Pretending to sting. Flies are very important pollinators because there are so many of them. The most important fly pollinators are hoverflies and bee flies, but many other flies also visit flowers to feed on nectar. Hoverflies have yellow and black stripes. but they are not related to bees or wasps. The flies, which cannot sting, pretend to sting insects to keep other animals from eating them. Those little fakers. Beetle pollinators. That's a beetle. Beetles visit flowers for many reasons. Some eat the pollen and nectar in flowers, and some eat the whole flowers. Other beetles feed on the smaller insects that visit flowers, smooth or hairy. Beetles that are smooth are not the best pollinators because pollen slides off their bodies. The best beetle pollinators are those with hairy bodies because the pollen sticks to their hairs as they travel from flower to flower. That's really interesting. It says above, ladybugs are beetles that feed on small pests such as aphids. Aphids damage plants. Ladybugs also drink some nectar as a snack, and it gives them energy. Yummy.
Just like coffee gives people energy.
Just like coffee gives people energy. And friends, that is where we are going to stop for today. So now you can review this video. You can watch it again if you need to, or you can go right onto Google Classroom, and I would like you to please fill out 5 new, fun, interesting facts that you just learned from this read aloud. I told you about all different types of pollinators and how they pollinate, and that they like different colors of flowers and all that really fun stuff. I hope that you have a wonderful day, and I cannot wait to see you tomorrow. Bye.
Ow.